Hi, welcome to StatStuff. I'm Matt Hansen. This lesson is the last part of an extended series of lessons that cover the topic of building a measurement system analysis, or MSA, which is used to validate the reliability of our data. Specifically, this lesson will review the fourth and final step of improving the measurement system if the MSA fails. Please be sure to check out all the prior lessons in this series about leading an MSA. But for now, let's review again the 4 general steps for building an MSA. The 4 general steps we're going to use for building the MSA begin with planning the MSA. That usually involves determining what needs to be measured, what MSA tools are going to be used during the MSA, and who's going to be part of the study itself, what samples or masters are we going to use for testing the accuracy, and how are we going to conduct the actual study itself. The next step is to actually conduct the MSA. That's going to involve scheduling the study, leading the study itself, and actually running it, and then collecting the data from the study. Once we've done that, then we can begin the third step of analyzing the results from that study. That's going to involve compiling all the data that was collected during the study, processing the data using the MSA tools that we plan to use ahead of time, and interpreting the results and doing the analysis on that data during the MSA. And then finally, after we've done that, we want to improve the measurement system. That's going to involve determining if we need to make improvements to the measurement system itself. If it does, then we need to find out what are those improvements and changes we need to make to the measurement system. And if we're making changes to the measurement system because we didn't trust reliability before and it failed the MSA, then that means we might have to redo the MSA. And when we redo it, that's a way for us to assess whether the corrections and changes we made to the measurement system were effective enough to the point where now we can trust the results coming out of the measurement system. Now let's dig into the fourth and final step by discussing in more detail about improving the measurement system. Well, in this fourth and last step for improving the measurement system is we want to ask ourselves, did the MSA fail? If it did fail, then we may need to go back to improve the measurement system depending on what part of the MSA had failed and how severely it had failed. So we want to ask ourselves, how did the MSA fail? How can the problem be fixed and where it failed? And we might want to use as a guide, like I'm going to show you next, how you can find the failure and possibly troubleshoot how you might be able to fix the MSA and where that failure occurred. So for example, if it was a stability type of failure, then we might want to see, was it a failure due to a lack of procedures? Well, the fix we might want to apply is writing clear and simple SOPs, or standard operating procedures. Or did it fail because the measurement device reacts differently to variation when used? Well, we want to verify the measurement device functions properly and can handle procedure variation. Or was it a failure from a non-standardized steps in process? Well, we want to standardize and bring compliance to the SOPs. Or did it fail because of a changed measurement method during the MSA? Well, if so, then we want to rerun the MSA with a consistent measurement method. Now, if it was a repeatability type of failure, then some of the things of where it could fail were like an operator error. Well, if so, then we might want to develop process maps for the most repeatable operator. Or if it was a failure from a measurement, the measures are rounded by the system, the operator, or some measuring device that we're using. Well, if so, then we might want to go back and replace or adjust the measurement device so that we can allow for smaller units where it's more precise in that measurement. Or if the failure was from differences in operator technique between the measurements, well, then we might want to instruct the operator about the entire measurement device scale. Or if it was a reproducibility type of failure that occurred, then it could have been because of operator bias, for example, an operator who's not following the SOP. Well, if so, then you want to find and remove that operator bias that's found, such as enforcing the SOP. Or if you find that rounding up or down of the measurement, or maybe inverting or forgetting a certain sign applied for the measurement, if that's part of the failure, then you want to implement consistent procedures, again, using a standard operating procedure, SOP. Now, these are just some examples of where you might find particular failures, but the point here is that you want to be able to find the failure where it occurred and make sure you have a fix applied or some improvement applied for wherever that failure was. So what do you do after the MSA failure has been identified and after it's been fixed? Well, you want to ensure the improvements were effective. It may be necessary then to rerun the MSA just to make sure that it was effective. If possible, then you might want to use the same parts like you used in the first MSA, rerun with those same parts back into the second MSA to make sure that you can now trust the measurement system. If the MSA isn't rerun, then you might be encountering the same original risks that you had when you first ran the MSA, as if it weren't run in the first place. So you can skip the MSA, but again, we might want to go back and reassess the possible risks if you skipped rerunning the MSA, because you want to be confident that these improvements and changes that you're making to the measurement system are really the right improvements, and are they really giving you a measurement system with data that you can really trust. Because if they're not, then you're back at square one with getting data that you can't trust, and if you have data you can't trust, then you can't trust any analysis or improvements that come as a result of that original data. Again, the bottom line for even doing the MSA in the first place is we want to be able to trust our data. If that requires us rerunning the MSA, then so be it, because we want to get to the point where we're absolutely confident that we've got good data that we can trust, so that way we're well prepared for doing the analysis in the next phase of DMAIC, that is the analyze phase. All right, before we close this lesson, let's discuss how we can apply some of these concepts in a practical way. Well, due to the nature of an MSA, there really isn't a practical application for this very last step where we want to improve the measurement system when we're running an MSA. So despite that, I'd suggest that you at least review the prior suggestions of how you might be able to fix the MSA. What additional ways would you recommend for fixing the different areas where an MSA could fail with the type of environment and type of study that you might do within your organization? Well, that wraps up this lesson. Check out StatStuff.com for many more resources that can help you achieve powerful results. I'm Matt Hansen. Thanks for watching.